Chapter 64 to 65. Now that he was no longer being pursued by assassin, Shirou discarded his leather jacket into the river and let out a triumphant laugh. Tokiomi was struck by Kiritsugu's origin bullet, which completely destroyed his magic circuit and magic crest. Kirei then severed Tokiomi's arm, which bore the command seals. Ha 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 ha. This is hilarious. Though it's a shame only a small piece of Kiritsugu's face was cut, the fact remains that the Master of Gilgamesh has lost his qualification to participate in the Holy Grail. Although Gilgamesh was able to maintain his form using Archer's class skill Independent Action, he no longer had any command seals or source of magical energy. It was likely that he would first turn to Kirei or seek out another contract. With no time to observe Shirou, this was the ideal moment for him to flee Fuyuki City. Without hesitation, Shirou hurried back home to pack his belongings. As he surveyed the wreckage caused by Spartacus, he couldn't help but think that the Fujimura couple should receive insurance compensation for the damages. He gathered all the cash and valuable luxury items in his house and placed them into a suitcase, then headed to the Miyama train station and purchased a ticket to Hokkaido. The train was scheduled to depart at 22:30, and it was currently 19:35, so Shirou had some time to spare. First, he made his way to the outskirts of the forest, where he found Spartacus lying on the ground, massive and unmoving. Shirou approached him, placing a gentle hand on the giant sword that he himself had projected and gifted to Spartacus. He said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Spartacus. My Grail War has come to an end. I have to leave." Although Spartacus had initially attacked him, he had been a great help during subsequent battles. Shirou was weak, but Spartacus was a hero to the weak. Now that the weak one had secured a path to freedom, he had to bid farewell to his hero. "Farewell, Spartacus. I know it's impossible, but I still wish you the best of luck in the war," he said with a hint of sadness in his voice. With a heavy heart, Shirou set out. He made his way back to the police station, where he warned the police chief of a potential catastrophic fire that might occur soon and urged him to stay vigilant. The Holy Grail had already been corrupted by all the world's evil, and no matter who emerged victorious in the war, the arrival of evil was bound to cause a massive fire. Shirou wasn't a god, he could only save himself. He couldn't directly save others, and no one would believe him. But by hinting at the danger to the police chief, he could potentially save some lives. As for Kirei and the others, Shirou had no intention of getting involved. They had their own karma to face. No one would come out unscathed, given that the Holy Grail had already been contaminated. By continuing to participate in the war, they were only bringing themselves closer to death and punishment. With Gilgamesh no longer a threat, Shirou could finally escape this battlefield that was soon to become a living nightmare. Finally, Shirou hypnotized himself and entered a dream world to visit Skathak. "Hold it!" Shirou yelled as he saw two spears aimed at him simultaneously. "Slacking off again, Shirou?" Skathak asked, lowering her weapons and fixing him with her piercing red eyes. "My battle is finished, Shisho," Shirou replied, a smile spreading across his face. "Really?" Skathak asked skeptically. "Have you defeated Gilgamesh?" "His master's command seals are gone. Even with his independent action, he wouldn't risk losing, so he won't pay any attention to me. I can take this chance to hide and get away from Fuyuki City," Shirou explained. "Gilgamesh has no reason to pursue me for the Holy Grail. I am not the Grail after all." "Is that so? Then why are you here now?" "I am here to express my gratitude to you, Shisho. Without you, I would have died at the hands of Diarmuid." "I couldn't possibly accept this gratitude," Skathak said, smiling and shaking her head. "You can, Shisho," Shirou said, hesitating for a moment before mustering the courage to ask, "Will you enter my dreams in the future to continue training me?" "Of course," Skathak replied without hesitation. In that case, I entrust myself to you for the rest of my life, Shirou said, smiling. Scathach's usually composed face showed a hint of hesitation. Is something wrong, Shisho? Shirou asked, concerned. Are you sure you want to entrust yourself to a woman who is so depraved and distorted? Scathach asked, her expression serious. Shisho, you are not depraved or distorted in any way, Shirou declared, and for the first time in a long time, he smiled without any hint of tension or stress. Well then, I'll head out first. I don't want to miss my departure time. Shirou's smile was free of worries, innocent and unburdened, revealing a side of him that was previously hidden by his soul. For a moment, his smile was as pure as a child's, and the scarlet fire burning brightly within him revealed a glimpse of his true self. Shirou! As Shirou was about to leave the dream, Scathach called out to him, Yes, Shishu? Shirou turned to face her. You are my disciple. That's right. Shirou laughed and walked away. Scathach was left alone in the sea of carnations. She looked up at the dark sky, and the sky mirrored her heart, scarlet, chaotic, and corrupted. Shirou arrived back at the station, and it was precisely 10 p.m. Reflecting on everything he had experienced during the war, he couldn't help but feel grateful to have made it out alive. Time ticked by, second by second. It was 10:20 p.m., and the subway conductor began checking tickets. Shirou gathered his luggage and prepared to leave, but as he rose from his seat, he spotted someone not far away. His eyes narrowed at the sight of the golden-haired person. A sound, like a snap, echoed in his mind, and his heart dropped. The other person, Gilgamesh, was leaning against the wall. Faker, where are you off to? Gilgamesh teased, a playful smile on his lips as he looked at Shirou. The man was dressed in black casual wear. Why are you here? This was strange, Shirou thought. Even if Gilgamesh had independent action, his master had been killed. He should have signed a contract with a new master to maintain his existence. Was he consuming souls or devouring fresh blood to do so? But something was wrong, Shirou realized as he stared at Gilgamesh. This entire development was wrong. Gilgamesh's aura was abnormal, not like a typical servant, but also not like his own demi-servant. Instead, it was like that of a normal servant with a physical body. You took on flesh? Shirou yelled in shock. Gilgamesh let out a triumphant laugh. Your questions are so childish I despise answering them. Look up, Faker! Your hero, your sword and shield, have come for you! As soon as Gilgamesh finished speaking, a giant sword descended from the sky with a whoosh, splitting the train that was about to depart right in front of Shirou. Boom! The ground shook, and the train was cut in half. Shirou's eyes widened, and he stared in disbelief at the giant sword. He followed its trajectory upward, and in an instant he saw the familiar giant. But the giant had changed. He was now black all over, exuding a manic aura, and was surrounded by a black mud that was like corruption. Roar! The giant let out a powerful roar that shook the sky. Bang! 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 Glass windows in the surrounding buildings shattered one by one, causing panic among the people on the street who ducked and covered their heads. This was the morning star of rebellion, the hero of the weak. That black mud, that corruption, that's all the world's evil. Shirou's eyes filled with disbelief as he looked at the rolling black mud on Spartacus. He was familiar with the existence of all the world's evil, and he knew that it could devour the nature of a servant, causing the Saint Graph of the servant to reverse and turn into an altar servant. But what? How did this happen? Irisville. The Lesser Grail is still alive and the servants are not yet dead. How did this evil come to be? How did it infect Spartacus? Hold on. Is it you who unleashed this? Shirou asked incredulously, his face filled with disbelief. Yes, it's me, the king. Gilgamesh answered with pride. "Why did you do it?" Shirou asked, his anger growing. "To destroy this false kindness, to get rid of this mongrel, and to regain power in the hands of the king," Gilgamesh declared. Shirou's fists clenched as he glared at Gilgamesh with fury. He noticed that Gilgamesh's chest was caved in, as if someone had shattered his ribs with a single blow, and there were also traces of dried blood at the corners of his mouth. But Shirou didn't care about any of that. He was focused on Gilgamesh, and his anger boiled within him. Just one step away. He was so close to escaping from Fuyuki City. All he needed was one step. But just as he took that step, Gilgamesh grabbed him. "Run, faker! Otherwise your hero, your sword and shield will smell your cowardice and hack you to death!" Gilgamesh laughed maniacally. "Ha ha 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 ha!" Spartacus roared in response. Roar, 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 roar. And with the giant sword, given to him by Shirou through projection, he swung down towards Shirou like a mountain range falling. Shirou quickly rolled to the side to dodge the blow. The great sword hit the ground. Boom! The ground split open in a massive crack. Shirou ran, filled with fear, just one step away from freedom. "Why? Why?" Shirou screamed in his mind. "Run! Run! But you cannot escape your fate forever," Gilgamesh called out, still laughing loudly. "Will you become the hero of this era, or will you remain a degraded mongrel? Praying to gods is pointless. Worshipping Buddha is useless. Choose, for my evil has already descended." Before nightfall, Gilgamesh arrived at Ryudu Temple on Mount Enzu, feeling that his contract with Tokiomi had been broken. He believed the Holy Grail War ceremony was just a sham, which he saw through at a glance. He would often walk the streets of Fuyuki City before the war, familiarizing himself with the terrain and studying the mechanism and principles of the Holy Grail War. Tokiomi dismissed it as low-class entertainment, but Gilgamesh was able to uncover the existence of the Greater Grail. The converging ley lines and energies of the city made the Greater Grail's presence too obvious to be missed. Despite his initial thoughts, Gilgamesh found the ceremony enjoyable. It summoned a portion of the true records from a certain period in the Throne of Heroes. However, Gilgamesh sees it as just a game to punish the thief. He knows that if you take it too seriously, you've already lost. But then he discovers fire, a flame similar yet different from himself. It was a divine gift from God, marking the beginning of the age of man with divine flames, wisdom, and divine heroes. However, this flame embodied ordinary wisdom and unrefined spirit of heroism, flickering as though it could be snuffed out at any moment. Will he become an anomaly? A person who will save the world? He doesn't know. The only thing he knows is that before he became an archer, he used his own eyes to glimpse the future at the moment of his descent. 11 years from now, humanity's world will meet its end, just like countless others before it. The cause and the outcome are both unknown, but the end is certain and unavoidable. Gilgamesh, the once great ruler of the extinct Sumerians, is indifferent to this news. However, a spark of fire kindles his curiosity. Will this fire's end mirror his own? Buried love, hidden rage, and a lonely death surrounded by ignorance? There is nothing to be done to change the inevitable, nothing to be gained from resisting it. Will this fire simply sit back and watch as everything crumbles? Or will he accept his fate with a calm heart? Gilgamesh is eager to find out, although the end will likely be the same as the other worlds, inevitable and final. As a mongrel, the final destination is inescapable. The Sumerians, despite their teachings, guidance, and reminders, could only watch helplessly as the gods they worshipped disappeared, leaving them to become just another vanished race in the eyes of future generations. Worse still, they were lumped together with the invading Babylonians and Akkadians. In the end, Babylon and Akkadians survived, as did Egypt, but the Sumerians vanished completely. Even their country's name was taken by Babylon. All civilizations, all prosperity, all of it, gone with the gods, lost to destruction. All the glory was taken by the conquerors. Neither the ideal king, nor the hot-blooded king, nor the tyrannical king, nor the wise king could save the Sumerians. Nothing and no one could save that group of mongrels and scraps who deserved to die. Ha 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 ha. Ridiculous. Anger, fury. As long as this anger burns, the realm will always be ruled by the tyranny of the king. A hero must possess 6 things, the most important of which are courage, wisdom, and bravery. The first 2 have already been achieved through his coercion, and only bravery remains. And so, Gilgamesh entered the Greater Grail. The Grail is a sea of chaos and corruption, which he has already thoroughly investigated. He wants to bring this corruption down, to put the ball of flame to the test and awaken the Earth's hypocritical scum. This world has countless parallel worlds, but no matter which one, the final outcome is always destruction. Gilgamesh sees this as a repeat of the Sumerian tragedy. The Sumerians worshipped the gods, revered their divine grace, and believed that with a god's gift, they could achieve eternal life. Why should the people of this era be any different? Only the object of worship has changed, from gods who control nature's power to science that follows the universe's principles. They worship it fervently, believing it can do anything, but they forget they're still just a species of primates, no different from others. The world is not kind, and neither is the universe. Those who see the world as gentle will eventually pay for their illusions. For power, both science and mystery can be improved and progressed through human effort and study. The problem is that the people using these things must also progress. The fight is not against science or mystery, but against the world, nature, the universe, everything that seeks to destroy human existence. How long has it been? It's been 6,000 years. The object of worship comes and goes, and with the passage of time, people change, but their thoughts and beliefs remain stagnant. No, they're even more petty and childish than those from 6,000 years ago. Their self-righteous arrogance knows no bounds. They believe they know everything, understand everything, and everything revolves around them. Pathetic, enraging. The world is overrun by lowlifes, and a great awakening is desperately needed. Mongrels may have the potential to become human, but their comfortable existence hinders their awakening. Only by breaking free from the illusions they've become addicted to and embracing the realities of life and death can they truly understand the world. The world is gentle? Ha 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 ha. What will you use to survive the impending destruction? This pitiful, comical dream? However, it's unrealistic to do this as a servant. But using that corruption, it's possible. All things are suffering. If you can't save yourself, then it's time to meet your end, Gilgamesh proclaimed. And with that, he ventured into the depths of the Greater Grail. At the heart of the Greater Grail, energy swirled in the form of treacherous whirlpools. The evil known as sin flowed and multiplied within these whirlpools, amplifying and transforming with each passing moment. The 7 deadly sins, pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth, took root and flourished within the whirlpools, constantly invading and distorting. Crimes such as rebellion, terror, destruction, abandonment, coercion, theft, false accusations, arson, insults, disrespect, estrangement, abduction, bribery, participation in suicide, gambling, abandoning a body, disturbance-making, false testimony, hiding stolen goods, kidnapping, violence, and all other sins deserving of death were sentenced and rejected. Killing, 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 not allowed. Killing, 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 not approved. Killing, 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 that's good. Killing, 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 yes. Killing, 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 promise. Killing, 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 wrong. What killing, killing, killing? There's only one thought. So boring. Impossible, spoke the voice of the curse. There is no right or certainty within this vortex of resentment and curse. The all-the-world evil deemed everything to be ugly and hateful, so this voice should not exist here. Yet, the voice declared once again, precisely. The world was originally like this. Why sigh? Why be surprised? The voice of the curse questioned, who will support heaven? Who will cover the earth? Who will bear all the sin? A loud, high-pitched ridicule echoed in response. Stupid question. There's no need to ask. As a king, the heaven is supported by the king, the earth is covered by the king, and the world is born by the king. What is the king? Curses asked. But it was a contradiction. In this place where individuality was not allowed, it recognized the presence of another within itself. Something that shouldn't exist was here. That is the king, the absolute ruler, the unique existence. His name is the hero king, Gilgamesh. His purpose is to look, listen, and judge, all for the sake of the king's way. With a splatter, the black mud broke apart, revealing the foreign object that couldn't be consumed by its resentment. In the evil-filled cavern, the hero king, Gilgamesh, once again stood on the ground, declaring, "It's me, the great king!" A foreign object emerged that even all the resentment couldn't digest. The king, once a servant with spiritual body, now stood in the void filled with evil with a real flesh and blood formed from the black mud's purification process. Despite being in the scorching hell, the king's majesty kept the surrounding evil mud at bay. Gilgamesh flaunted his statue-like torso and sneered impatiently, "Fighting to the death over this thing as wish-fulfilling machines is truly a fit of ugliness for the mongrels. The entertainment is over. The real grand scene is about to begin." Donning the modern clothes he had prepared in his treasury, Gilgamesh commanded the mud with authority. "You and I are both necessary evils in this world. Consider yourself honored. Your unpleasant power has been requisitioned by the king.